Welcome to episode 79 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV show, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by Kyle Springer.
Hello. How's it going?
Kyle, that's you.
That is
How are
me.
you?
Yeah, I am doing fantastic. I got the second part of my Halloween costume in the mail today.
Oh,
So I have my
you got that
Southside
jacket?
Serpents jacket. Thankfully,
Did
it's
it
not
fit?
as hilariously small as I thought it was. It is small. I am gonna have to return it and get another one, but the product itself is fantastic so far.
Good.
So I just need to pay for the extra shipping to make sure it gets here on time, and then I'll be good to go.
Awesome. Nice to know. Today I am going to Target. It is my Halloween decoration buying trip. I went
Okay,
once before. I scouted everything out. I've thought it over the last week. I'm like, these. I want these decorative small
you're
pumpkins.
making
I
a
want
list and you're
this
checking
light.
it twice.
I sure am. I got to make sure I get all the right prices.
Good, good stuff. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, we are getting in the Halloween spirit all month here on the review show. Every episode here in October, we are covering something spooky. This time, we are watching the young adult action adventure spooky good time, the stop motion animated film Paranorman. This is from Studio Laika, which is a stop motion studio that did Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings and a lot of other neat features. And this was their
Yeah,
sophomore effort. I think it's a very strong one. I'm excited we get to talk about it.
yeah, it's back from 2012. Seems so long ago.
Hmm.
It was
Right?
released August 17th, 2012. Yeah, I remember when this came out, but I don't remember hearing much about it. Like I I don't know if it was just like the time it came out or it yeah, like I long story short, I ended up really liking this. I thought it
Good.
was cute. I thought it was a good family friendly, spooky film that you can watch during the Halloween season. Which is exactly kind of what I wanted when I picked this, and or
Yeah.
when you pitched it last week. I was like, we've done vampires stuff 2 weeks in a row, but they're not necessarily family friendly. I guess I don't even need to
No, no, these
qualify
were
that with
dark boys.
necessarily. Yeah, we watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then we read the first two volumes of American Vampire. Um, and both of those are fantastic, but yeah, not something that you can do with the whole family. And I feel like,
Quite
especially,
grisly.
yeah, and I feel like, especially in the horror genre, that's not something you get very often, where it's like, hey, here's a family movie that
Mm-hmm.
we can watch. So when you mentioned that, I was like, that one sounds neat. Let's do that one. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't remember it coming out to much fanfare. But that was so long ago that I could be completely
Yeah.
wrong. I don't know.
I don't think it did tremendously well. I went to see this in the theaters and I really dug it. Like this was a
Nice.
movie I raved to people about after it came out of the theater. I tried to get people to go see it. And I was following a lot of animation blogs on Tumblr at this time. So
Back
I was
in
hearing a
Tumblr's
lot about
heyday.
it from there. Yeah, yeah. So like animation and art nerds and like Halloween people loved it, but I don't know if this is a film that broke through to just like the average audience. And I don't remember the last time I heard somebody who's not me talk about it.
Right? Like I put this in with like what's the movie about the dog? Frankenweenie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like that would be a good double feature. Paranorman and
Mhm.
Frankenweenie. I'm not sure when that one came out or who made that one, but I just
That
in my mind
well,
I relate the two.
it's based off of one of Tim Burton's early animated shorts when he was an animator at Disney. And
Okay,
that might have been him teaming back up with Henry Selick from Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm not sure, but it
interesting.
was very like it was a Tim Burton production, and it was very much in that style.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this could go up there with that, or a Hocus Pocus, or a
Oh
Casper,
yeah,
or a
sure.
Monster Squad. Yeah,
That's a good call. But yeah, I don't think it was really until Kubo that I knew who Leica was. I had seen Coraline, but I think I only really knew about it because not because of the studio, but because it was this like Tim Burton esque thing, and I was just like, oh, I know stories like that. That's really neat. And I just didn't pay attention to what studio made it.
mm,
But then, yeah, once Kubo and the Two Strings came out, which I still haven't seen,
it's
I
pretty
at least
good.
heard the name. Yeah, it was like, oh, this is by Studio Laika. This is, like they've been making good stuff for a long time now. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
huh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So what this movie is about, because we've talked a lot about it, but not what it actually is. It's set in this little New England town, and there's this boy named Norman who has the ability to talk to ghosts, which is supposedly, something that runs in his family, but like his family like really doesn't get it. Like it's from his mother's side and his dad does not understand and his older sister is just so annoyed by him and all of the other townspeople just think he's weird and they make fun of him and he goes
He's
to
that
school and he
weird
just has
kid.
the word freak written across his locker. Yeah, he's trying to keep his spirits up and then this distant uncle from his
His
mom's
spirits
side of
up.
the yeah, yeah, yeah. This distant uncle from his mom's side of the family comes to him and says, "You know that legend of the witch that was hung here like 300 years ago? And there's like, a folklore about this curse, and she killed the 7 people who tried and hung her. She's a real spirit, and I've been keeping her at bay. Like generations of us have been keeping her at bay. The next
Yeah,
person to do it is you." So he has to try and placate this witch spirit that is terrorizing the town and making the dead rise from the grave. And the townspeople are just all this angry mob. And he has to get through to the soul of this witch and try and get the other townspeople and his other friends to just like understand what he is going through.
yeah. I think that about sums it up.
Yeah.
It plays a lot on classic horror movie
Yeah.
tropes, or not even classic ones, but just like the like cheesy 70s horror films and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of stuff from those and puts it in, from the typography in the film to the design of the
Yeah.
characters to yeah, just this idea of like, oh, here's the jock, here's the pretty girl, here's the younger brother, here's the small little fat kid that no one seems to like, here's
Mm-hmm.
the like town punk, right?
Yeah.
And like they are the group, they are the breakfast clubs, so to speak.
Yeah. The movie's a really interesting cross between very classic, recognizable, just standard archetypal characters like that, and lots
Mhm.
of really interesting nuance. Like, for example, his older sister is this like cute, pretty, preppy, kind of boy crazy girl who would be like a cheerleader and anything else. But in this, she like is an athlete. Like she mentions she does basketball and swimming and all these things, which is very small. But again, it's just not something you'd typically see out of that character.
It feels like something I would see in like a slasher film. Oh, here's the hot
Yeah.
chick who's on the cheerleading
Hmm.
squad, right? That's it. And then I think actually I won't spoil that yet. I'll mention it down the road. But there
Yeah.
was something else that I thought was neat about one of the characters that I was not expecting, and I was like, oh, okay, just a one
Yeah.
line thing that they
Yeah.
said, and I was like, that's neat. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
lots of cool little surprises in this film.
it was good for sure, and some good moments too, some good heartwarming moments
Yeah,
as
I
well.
think it's got a really like it's really fun. I think it's very spooky and eerie. Like it's
Mhm.
not like I wouldn't call this scary or anything like that. It's as scary as like Beetlejuice or something, but it's like it really you can see it like they have horror movies in mind. They are really going all out on making things just look creepy
Yeah,
in this family friendly palatable way. It looks gorgeous. I think it's pretty funny. Oh, it's very solid. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one.
good stuff. Good stuff. I think if I had to say one thing that I wasn't so sure on though, I think for me was the sound design. It didn't quite hit like I
Really?
wanted it
Huh.
to. I thought it was fine. Like it worked, and it had
Mhm.
certain moments that were um excuse me, that were fantastic. But then there were
Mhm.
other moments in there I was like, I feel like it's missing something. It's too
Hmm.
quiet for the space it should be in. There should be more atmospheric sounds and
Okay.
something like that. But that was that was
Mhm.
I think maybe one of the few things I was like, I don't know about that. But you know.
Yeah.
Little bit of housekeeping for you
Yeah.
guys last week here on the review show. I guess I already kind of mentioned those, but we've been doing
Mhm.
horror themed stuff for the month of October. We already covered Bram Stoker's Dracula 2 weeks ago, and then last week we covered American Vampire Volumes 1 and 2 by Scott Snyder and
Mhm.
Raphael Albuquerque. And I guess parts of Volume 1 were also written by Stephen King in there
Yeah.
too, so that's neat. Um, if you guys want to check out our other podcasts, like the Captain's Log, where I told the hilarious story of me being very worried about my Halloween costume being way too small, go
Yeah.
check out the Captain's Log. We also have a podcast called The Reactor Core. We should be doing an episode on El Camino on that very soon here, so be on the lookout for that. But the whatnauts.com is our website where you can find all of that stuff. You can get more information. If you
Mhm.
like what we do, patreon.com/the whatnauts is where you can support us. You guys can get episodes early. You can get exclusive content. We just played MASH, Mansion,
Ah.
Apartment, Shack, House on an exclusive Patreon episode of the Captain's Log. So you guys should go
Mhm.
check it out. Like, share, subscribe on all the social
Yeah.
media stuff. You know what to
We
do.
appreciate it.
We absolutely do. But that's all for now. Let's get into spoilers.
Mhm.
There we go. Um, I'll just the one thing that I was like, I'm gonna wait till spoilers. One of the
Yeah.
the one of the like side, I guess you could call him one of the main characters since he's
He's
kind of in that main
he's
group.
the
But like,
cover of the DVD box.
yeah, but like one of the kind of main side characters is the jock archetype.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they're the older sister is all like, "Oh my god, he's so hot. He's such a hunk. You should date me." And then he at the end of the film makes a throwaway line. He's like, "Oh, my boyfriend would love this." And it's just like, "Oh, he's gay." No
Yeah.
wonder he's not like he's because like you have the oblivious jock style character where
Yeah.
he's just a
Yeah.
meat head, and
Yeah.
he's just not smart, and so that's what you think the entire film, that he's
Mhm.
just oblivious to this girl's advances, but it's probably not that. It's that he's already in a
Yeah.
relationship with another guy, and so it's like
Mhm.
he just doesn't mention that because he also is still kind of oblivious. But it's just like
Yeah.
that was good. I was not expecting that. So
Yeah, that is a very neat little turn on the story, and I think at the time this came out, that was mostly what people were talking about, just like, "Oh, neat." I don't know if there's been anything like that in a family-friendly feature before.
yeah, there might have been some stuff out there, but yeah, like it was. It's one of those things that like I don't want to make more of a big deal out of it than it actually is. It was just a line. He was just like, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend would love this," and it moved on.
Yeah.
And it's just like, "All right, cool,
Yeah,
that's it."
I like that it is, a very positive, inclusive thing, but it's also just a very neat button at the end of that joke. Like,
Yeah,
it's a very solid joke structure also.
yeah.
Like, oh, that's it. And then the girl just like, she just looks like,
She's
just looks
defeated.
exasperated. She's just dismayed. Like, oh no, I get what's going on. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's funny. Um,
Hmm.
so where did you want to start out with this film? You said this is something that you've been talking about since it came out. What stood out to you about this film when you first watched it?
Uh, like there's a lot of great things. I think it's visually gorgeous. It's got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of neat little funny moments and lots of charming side characters to it. Like it's such a good Halloween story, which I never get tired of.
Yeah.
But what has really stuck with me throughout the years, what impressed me so much the first time I saw it is the climax of the movie where Norman is talking to the witch. Because, everybody in the town knows 300 years ago, the town tried and killed this witch, and he's with his kind of connection to the spirit world, he's able to go back and see that
Mm-hmm.
trial and really sees what's happening. It's a little girl. Like everybody for years and years and years has been picturing that classic standard like Margaret Hamilton witch,
Yeah.
and it's this very scared, confused little girl, and that's why the witch's curse is so rough, because she was scared, she was confused, like these townspeople killed her, and every year after that she's been trying to lash out at them. And the conversation he has with her is, I understand you want to make them suffer because they made you suffer, but what good does that do anybody? You have to stop this cycle. You
Mm-hmm.
have to realize that there's more good people in the world than bad people. You can't focus on that. And there's a lot of stories about like standing up for yourself and standing up against bullies. But I don't know if I've seen very many young adult stories about, it's not about standing up for yourself. It's about making sure you don't turn into the person that other people are standing up
Yeah.
against. It's about recognizing you're the next link in this chain. Like every, negativity goes to negativity goes to negativity. And it's about like realizing
Yeah.
this could stop with you. Like you just have to accept the actions of others, don't let them affect your own self, and just find some peace and move on. And I think that's a really valuable part of like an emotional toolbox that doesn't get
Yeah.
addressed very much.
I I feel like I was listening to or watching something, but yeah, they mentioned something very similar where it was this idea of, yeah, people who are bullied. It's not necessarily often that it happens, or something like that. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
the stats, but they were like, there's a good chance that they too can then turn around and become a bully to other people
Mm-hmm.
because they they don't want it to happen to themselves, so they start to do it to other people
Mm-hmm.
to be like, oh well, now I'm the one with the power and and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, that's not something that you typically see in media or in movies about that stuff. It's just, we need to beat the bully. We need to make sure
Yeah.
he's not a bully anymore. And that's it.
Like, to go back to these other Halloween movies I mentioned earlier, like
Mm-hmm.
there's bully characters in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
And, what does Max do? He traps them in the hanging cages in the Sanderson house. Or there's kids who are teasing Kat in Casper, and she gets Casper to scare these kids, and they run away screaming, and presumably they won't mess with you anymore. But this is the first movie I think that's like, let's take a good hard look at you. Are you a bully? You look at your own actions. Make sure you're not perpetuating any of this mistreatment. Like,
Yeah.
just focus on positive things and move on.
Yeah. It's good. I liked it a lot, especially because this film does a lot of flipping the genre on its head, right?
Hmm.
The 7 or so people that ended up killing this younger girl way back in the past, they are now the zombies that are in this film, and
Yeah.
they start out and look like typical zombies, and they have the really slow speech of just like brains,
Hmm.
and they're trying to say something like you must stop, because they and so he thinks that these zombies are trying to get him to stop this or like stop doing what he's doing, and like not quell this curse, if that makes sense, or just like make it go away
Hmm.
again until next year. But it turns out that they just never got their full sentence out, and they're like, "Oh, run away!" And it's like, yeah, like they're actually wanting him to not just stop it, like not just make it go away till next year, but to just stop the whole thing. Like, hey, you need to sit down and talk with her, because we messed up, and she won't listen to anyone else, and you're the only one that has the power to like communicate with her, and we have something to say to her, right? And it's this whole idea of
Hmm.
like, we screwed up, like we did something really
Yeah.
bad, um which, yeah, like is it, they seem like these mindless characters, and I think in any typical horror story would just leave them as that, of like, oh yeah, they're just zombies,
Hmm.
and they somehow could still figure out, well, we still need to stop the curse, because
Yeah.
everything else that's happening now is also really bad. uh, but then to take it that one step farther and be like, no, we're gonna make the zombies be the one to be like, hey, we screwed up. Nice.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, they really do realize not just, oh no, this has come back to bite us. Like, we shouldn't have done that. Like, it's not inward regret, it's a very outward regret. Like, we sincerely did not handle this situation well. We did not treat this girl well. We need to rectify this. And they come back and
Mm-hmm.
they are very sorry when they talk to Norman. And they're like, and his uncle gives him this book, and it's set up very much like this classic kind of spooky story, like, you have to go read the magical book at the witch's grave. And Norman gets there and he opens it up and he's like, these are fairy tales. Why am I reading Sleeping Beauty? And the zombies are talking to him and he says, oh, she's a little girl. This is a bedtime story to put her back to sleep every year. And throughout the generations, hundreds of Prendergasts going back, 300 years in the town. His whole family line is go to the witch's grave, read the bedtime story. She goes back to rest. She won't destroy the town that year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you've just been like postponing the problem. Like, you
Yeah.
need to sincerely stop it.
And deal with it.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of other stories like this. Yeah, a lot of other stories I think would have it would just be the ritual. It would just be, I have to do this thing at this place, and that connects the magic spell, and that makes everything works. It would be an act of bravery or something that would stop it. And I like that this is an act of empathy.
Hmm.
It's not just stop the problem, it's let's get to the root of the problem. Let's talk about this. How are you feeling? Would you consider feeling otherwise? Can I help you? Here's some nice things to think about. Like, can we work through this?
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
like that this
That's
is a
good.
movie where the problem is solved with just a heart to heart talk.
Right. And that also ends the film on a way that I think most horror films aren't dealt with, right? They just
Yeah.
escape the monster, or they make it back home, or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, and that's it. But yeah, it is this idea of, you didn't really address the problem, you just escaped it
Mm-hmm.
for now. And that's where the film ended. But this one, it's like, no, we actually need to sit down and have a talk and deal with this, and then we can finally move on.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
liked that a lot. Who was your favorite character?
I love the theater teacher. So, like, at this middle school Norman goes to, like, this theater teacher is putting on a play of her own story, a retelling of the witch's legend from 300 years ago. And she's this great, big, like, boisterous, bombastic woman. Like, when the zombies come out and the whole town is, like, turning into an angry mob, she, like,
Cry
climbs on top of
havoc
a
and
car.
release the dogs of war, or something
I
like
love her. And
that.
that's Alex Borstein from Family Guy, who I think, regardless of your feelings on the tone of that show, I think she's a very solid vocal performer.
Yeah,
And I was glad to hear her in this. Like, she's got a lot of range. She's a real powerful actress. It's a
it
great
was
role
it
for
was
her.
fantastic. Yeah, her line when they're rioting in the streets,
Hmm.
and she gets on top of the car and it's like, cry havoc and and it, like, that was like, this is fantastic, I love
And the
this.
townspeople don't like
They don't
they
understand what
don't get
she's
it. They don't get
saying.
that this is like a famous Shakespearean line, and she
Yeah.
just says, "Let's get them," and then they're on it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that everybody in this movie is pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the main cast of characters, and Norman's got this emotional intelligence, and he's able to, like, put the puzzle together. Like, oh, the witch struck down 7 people with her curse. I went to the witch's grave. Wait, there were 7 graves. That's the 7 people she cursed. She's not there. The witch is buried somewhere else. So he figures out they
Mhm.
have to go to the town hall of records and see if they can find where she is. Like, he's got enough knowledge to put everything together, but there's, like, one really smart friend they call who appears to be the smartest person in the entire town.
Yeah, she
Like,
has,
everybody
like,
else he's around is like, I don't know, like,
all the
nobody's
words.
really got it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I don't. It was weird to me because I looked up the voice actor who played the father. I don't remember his
Jeff
name.
Garlin,
Jeff
yes.
Garland. Yeah. So that was it was weird to me because the character's likeness also looks like another actor that I know, and I was
Mm.
like, I think that's him. I just don't know the guy's name. He almost looks like the guy from Trailer Park Boys, if you've seen that show at all. Um,
Oh, no, I've
it's
not.
yeah, he almost looks exactly like him, and I was like, I think it's that actor. But then I looked it up, and it's not. I thought he had a great performance of just like the
Yes.
stepdad, or I guess not stepdad. I felt like I got the vibe that there was maybe that
Mm,
was maybe not the
No,
first
that
husband or something like that.
no, that's
I don't
his
know.
dad. He just doesn't get Norman
Maybe
because
not
the
then.
supernatural ability comes from his wife's side of the family. And I get the impression,
That
like,
makes sense.
it's not like everybody has it, or not always, like, it's her uncle that has it. So it's
Yeah.
like, this guy kind of knows that something back there, but has never needed to deal with it directly. His wife has never needed to deal with it directly. She doesn't really get it either. And
Yeah.
he's just like, why did my kid have to end up with this weird ability? And he like does not want Norman. He's like, grandma's not here. My mom's not here. It was just nonsense. And then by the end of the movie, he's like, is grandma here? And Norman's like,
Yeah.
yeah, she's sitting next to you on the couch. He turns and he says, hi, mom.
Yeah, I thought he had a fantastic performance, and I really liked at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the film when he is like, so is grandma in the room here, and the whole family eventually comes in and sits down to
Yeah.
watch this horror film. And at the same time, both the father and the grandmother say, like, so what's happening in the film or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's this like again, it's this throwaway line, especially since it's basically the last thing in the film. But it's this line of like, oh, he's exactly like his mother
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. So it was neat that it had that small touch, and I think that really solidified his character for me. But I liked,
Yeah.
again, I'm terrible with names because I don't know what it is. Let's see, blah blah blah. Let's see if I can find his Kneel Down. That's a funny name. Um,
Mm.
is Norman's best
Oh, he's
friend.
so sweet.
He's perfect. He's so good. He's the kid that is getting bullied at school, but he's just the happiest, go
Mhm.
luckiest little kid you could ever think of. And he,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole scene of them going into the backyard to be like, hey, we buried my dog back here. Can you speak to my dead dog? Let's play with my dead dog. It's just like, you're so precious. I love it.
Yeah. And it's not like he's like, other kids are scared of you, Norman, but I'm not. Let's be friends. Like he's just like Norman is the same as anybody else to him. He's just like, you want to walk home from school? You talk to ghosts, right? You want to talk to my dog? Like he's just excited about it. I like their little journey to becoming friends. And I
Yeah.
like so
You
the
want to play some
like he's
hockey?
trying to like he's trying to play with his ghost dog and he's like which he can't see so he's like making little kissy faces and Norman like a very classic kid joke is like that's not his face and then we see the ghost dog and he's been kissing his butt and then Neil's just like okay well you want to play fetch with the dog like he's not
It
grossed
doesn't
out he's just like
register.
well I'm moving on I guess I won't do that again yeah
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that scene was fantastic. Um
Mhm.
and then to see him as the tree in the play where he's just stuck like
So excited to play a tree.
he's that, but he reminds me of Ralphie's younger brother
Yes.
in Christmas Story, where he's just like, Ralphie, wait
I
up.
can't put my arms down.
It's so good. And then yeah, that's when we start to see the ramifications of, hey, there is this curse that is starting to manifest and you're seeing these strange things, and that's when we see like the first vision of the past and stuff like
Mhm.
that, which actually had, I think, one of the scariest moments in the film is that first time
Yes.
when you go into the past and you see what is happening there, because there's um three of the like pilgrim looking people, and you can't see their faces or all that stuff. They are just these black menacing figures that just like start walking up and getting bigger, and I'm just like, oh, that is actually creepy. like to
Yeah.
be transported to some unknown spot, and then these like mysterious figures just notice you and start chasing you. It's like, what in the world? I'd be freaked out.
Yeah.
Oh,
When Norman like has these visions and goes into the past, like everything around him burns, like when you
looks like
burn a piece of
burning paper.
paper
Yeah.
and it just slowly like wicks away and like, chars all the edges, like the
Hmm.
entire world. Like he's not in the school gym doing this play anymore. Everything burns and then he's in this, old creepy forest. It is a really neat effect.
Yeah. But then like he finally comes to, and he's like, the trees told me, the tree told me, and he, like his friend's sitting there like, what did I do? Like, I didn't do anything, I swear.
One of my favorite little things in the movie is that Norman's like great uncle who like lives up on the hill, like he's kind of this weird mysterious hermit and he's like
Uh,
very in tuned with his spiritual powers and he's
Played
been the
by
one reading the
John
book at the witch's grave for
Goodman, by the way.
the fellow statesman. This is his third appearance on our show.
There you
A hat
go.
trick for Mr. John Goodman. Like Neil, like he like comes up on Norman in the park and is like, "Do you know who I am, boy? The spirits are coming, and you're gonna have to deal with them." And just a creepy old man. And then Neil's like, "Hey, get away from my friend!" And he looks around, and he picks up his lunch bag, and he says, "Don't make me throw this hummus. It's spicy." And the uncle appears to be
Ooh.
legitimately frightened of Neil. Like I think later on, like he's sincerely not as a joke as like you and your creepy friend. like, like he's doing the most simple thing he knows how to do. It's so ineffectual, but it does affect this guy. He's like, oh, stay away from that kid.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's like, don't make me throw this hummus. It's spicy.
There's a couple really solid jokes in this movie.
Yeah, it's so good. It's
I also like when Norman's sister Courtney goes to because the jock is his older brother. When she
Mhm.
goes to Mitch and Neil's house trying to find Norman, she's like, "Hi Neil, I'm here to talk to you." And then Neil's just
Just
like he's the only person in the room and he points at himself like me and turns around like you're the only person there. It is you, which is again like very classic stuff you've seen over and over again, but they like really execute these things really well.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. Let's see who
I think
else
the
is.
best one of my favorite sequences in the movie is when the zombies come to town and they're interacting with all those townspeople. And there's a
Mhm.
guy going up to a vending machine
Oh
that's
yeah.
like, around the corner from the gas station. It's on the outside. It's like in this alley. And he puts the dollar in the vending machine and he's going to get these chips. And it's this one bag of chips at the back of the vending machine. So the thing has to spiral and spiral and spiral. And the zombies come shuffling towards him at the end of the alley. And he looks at them and screams. And he looks at his chips.
They're just
And they're
like,
still
come on,
spiraling.
chips.
And
I want my chips. Hurry up, I'm gonna die.
he's not giving up on his dollar worth of barbecue potato chips and he just keeps looking from the zombies to the vending machine and then he gives up and he runs away but then he hears the chips fall and runs back and grabs them and then runs off again.
Yeah. I thought that was neat. And then I
Mhm.
think also the when the zombies go in town and the zombies are horrified by what they see because they
Yes.
know they are the puritanical
Yes.
Christian zombies, and they see bars and arcades and it's like sex and drugs and stuff. Like it's not that, you don't actually see all that stuff, but it's stuff that can represent that in a family
Yeah,
friendly
there's
way,
a
right?
billboard for the Lucky Witch Casino, and it's this witch who has like dollar bills sticking out of her cleavage and like a glass of wine in one hand,
Yeah, and they're just
and they're
like, oh,
scandalized.
how unholy.
And I'm not a big zombie person, but I don't think I've seen this in any other zombie movie where a historic corpse comes back to life and it is like shocked at the values of society today.
That would be really funny to see of yeah, some kind of comic like that. I know they've done stuff where like it's zombies and the person can pass as a regular human being, like an eye zombie,
Mhm.
or um, stuff like they have their memories or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, no. But yeah, nothing about culture shock of for a zombie, right? It's like, I died in 1732. Oh my goodness, what is this? A bar? What is a bar? You can't be doing that. It's unholy.
Exactly. I feel like zombies will be like, my whole family is dead. But I don't know if I've seen a zombie be like, I can see that woman's ankles. I won't stand for this.
Oh no, her ankles, the horror.
And the town is like just the dumbest angry mob of people.
Yeah.
And oh, like it's almost excessively cartoony. The intelligence level of some of these supporting characters. Like there's
Yeah.
a part where Alvin, the bully character, he's trying to like write his name on a bathroom stall, but you can see he can't spell his own name correctly and he's scratched it out like 3 times.
Yeah.
Everybody in the town, like, they're not very smart, they're not very kind, but like they're so like they act they've no impulse control, like they act so fast, they're so rational, they're so like angry and scared and just making these like awful rash decisions to the point where it's
Yeah.
like a little excessive, but I think that kind of also fits in with the moral of the movie, and like none of them really get better. Like the bully is still like a bully at the end of the movie, but the movie is not about bully one, it's about like the possible second generation bully. It's about dealing with the things other people have done to you and making sure you don't perpetuate that. So I think it kind of works that the town is an absolute disaster and you just have to learn to live with the town and make sure even if you can't fix them, you're not a problem yourself.
Right. I was thinking they were gonna do something more with the theater teacher having the mask on her face, the like green like makeup
Yeah.
mask thing, the
Yeah.
mask. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna mistake her for a zombie and do
Yeah.
something like that. I wonder if there is a version of the film where something like that happened, or a deleted scene or something.
Mhm.
I was looking up the voice actor for Alvin, and it is Christopher Mintz Plasse, I believe is how you say his name. I don't
Mhm.
remember. I
Yeah.
I thought I recognized his voice, and now I looked it up. I was like, oh, I know you. I've seen you in stuff before. You're in
Yeah. And
Superbad
he's
and
the
Kick
guy who
Ass and stuff like that.
Yeah. And he's the
Um,
guy who plays like a nerd in live action roles. So it was neat to hear him voice act as the bully character for a
I
change.
Before I looked it up, I was almost certain he was the voice actor from Ed, and Eddie, who
No.
played Ed, or I guess the first one, the like main one. Um, but yeah, no,
Eddie.
that's not him. I was like, I know that voice somewhere. Where
Yeah,
where do I know
similar
that voice
enough.
from?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's or at least like similar type of character, or like the way they portray the stupidity in that character.
Yeah.
It's just like that's
There's,
very similar.
there's a lot of really good voice performances in this movie. I really love Anna Kendrick as the older sister,
Mhm.
who's just. I like that none of the kids are necessarily scared. They're just like, oh, this is lame.
Such an
And
inconvenience.
she's not like, oh no, I'm going to die. She's like, I have to spend all night with you losers.
Yep.
Get me out of here.
Yep.
Like they go to the town records to look up, like, where could they have buried the witch, and nobody wants to read. Like Norman's the only one trying, and everybody else is like reading.
um, let's see. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page and stuff like that. I was hoping I guess I don't know any of those actors. I was hoping I would have known like the famous voice actors for the ghost. Like, hey, here's the Fonz as the ghost, or stuff like that. But it's not that stuff. I don't recognize any of
I
these
do want to talk
people.
about the ghosts for a second because we
Yeah.
see early in the movie Norman goes on his walk to school, and you see it from the townspeople's perspective where he's just walking around talking to nobody, just like,
Hmm.
hi, he's just waving at thin air like, hi, how's it going? Well, I'm kind of late for school today. I have to leave, but I'll talk to you later. And
Yeah.
nice to see you guys. And then you see his perspective where the town is filled with these ghosts, and they're ghosts from all different eras. Like you do have a 1950s greaser, you have
Hmm.
like this early 1900s, like Amelia Earhart type pilot woman, and you see like a Civil War soldier and a gangster, like, all these characters, these classic characters of history, and they're all there, and they are all very nice to Norman. Like the ghosts are like the nicest group of people in the town, I think.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like, I think that really sets up how the movie ends. Like, all you really need to connect with somebody is just have a real conversation with them. A
Hmm.
real conversation where you're on each other's level can do a lot. And there's no need to be scared of these people. Just talk to them, and they're all like really normal.
Yeah. The one weird thing about that scene, now that I think about it, which
Mhm.
I guess it doesn't really play a big role in the movie, um, or yeah, just for like the purposes of the story in the film, is that these ghosts, they mention that people will only come back as a ghost if they have some kind of unfinished business or some
Yeah.
duty to attend to, which means this town is filled with people with unfinished business. But then you see
Yeah.
characters like the greaser ghost who's just sitting there and just like not doing a thing. And like
Yeah. That's
it is this odd thing of like, if you guys have stuff to do, wouldn't you be trying to do it? Like I
I,
don't know, but again, like
yeah.
that scene is more for show of just like, this is what he sees. He
Hmm.
sees this town filled with
Yes.
all of these crazy
Hmm.
characters and stuff like that, but no one else does. It's not like, oh well, we need to follow the greaser now to see if he needs to have a fight with the South Side gang, right? No, he he's just sitting there and
Well,
he's
they might
like,
have.
hey, how's it going?
They might have slow, quiet goals to achieve. Like
Yeah.
Norman asks his grandma, "Why are you still here?" And she says,
Watching after you,
I
yeah.
told you I always watch after you, so here I am." And she doesn't need to do anything except float around the house and like give him a
Knit.
pep talk and yeah, do her ghostly knitting.
What a spooky hobby. That would be a weird thing of like, if that is your duty to watch after someone for their entire life and you have literally nothing else to do, what do you do in the times when he's like sleeping or watching TV? Do you take up ghost knitting, or do you learn
Go
to
out there and
draw?
party with other ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
She's
what
got like
what
a new ghost
hobbies
boyfriend or something.
what hobbies do ghosts take up?
Oh, bird watching probably because you can't. Well, if this is a world where animals see the dead, in some mythologies, animals can or they can't, or it's only some of them. Like a cat
Sure.
could see you and a dog couldn't. You could watch so many animals if they wouldn't get spooked and run away. All the bird watching. Imagine.
I feel like you could just go spy on the neighbors. Like
Just
I
live the
just
Harriet
like
the Spy life.
Yeah, that or just like I'm gonna get the Real Housewives of Paranorman City, and you just like go and spy on all of their dirty laundry, stuff
Yeah,
like that, and
this
find out
feels
what's
like
happening.
such a rich city. Like it's got the kind of cartoony aspect and that like, none of the citizens seem like fully complete competent people, but
Yeah.
I don't know, like it feels lived in. I couldn't really speak to this because I only know it from other movies, but it seems like it is a small New England town. Like it is very specific to that area in its architecture and its city
Hmm.
layout. Like it's got the little town square with the big statue in it and all these cute little buildings. Like there's like a main street, there's all these little businesses on it, and like the whole town is up on the witch theme. Like, you've got the local hot dog joint, Witch Wieners, and go to the Lucky Witch Casino. And it feels really consistent.
Yes.
And it feels like every like little side character you run into does have this real spark of life to them. Like there's the woman who comes out of the bar with the big like frosted blonde hair and pulls like a shotgun off of her back. I
Yeah.
feel like again, I could watch that lady at her bar for an hour. What is she doing?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm kind of surprised there wasn't a sequel to this.
Yeah.
Like I feel like because you mentioned you felt like this town is just filled with all of these ghosts and these rich characters and stuff like that. I feel like this would be a good town to have more stories told in. Like, how did the greaser character die? I don't know, but maybe there's a movie about it. Who knows? But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a good sequel could potentially be made, but I know
Yeah.
stop motion stuff is hard to make and it takes a long time. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh, with that in mind, so this movie
hmm
came out in 2012. This
yes,
takes forever. So they might have started like building models and things and started putting things into production in like 2009. Everybody's technology is like mid 2000s. Like it's charming how everybody like I think the smart girl has what looks like an iPhone, but Courtney has like a sidekick and a razor.
yep,
Everybody's TV is like an old CRT box TV. Like everything's like like a decade or so behind what it kind of is supposed to be,
yeah,
which I don't know, I think it's charming. It gives it this kind of it's contemporary enough that like a kid can recognize like a younger kid who lives in a phone era can understand what's happening, but it's also like old enough that it feels like a new kind of timeless.
yes, I would agree with that.
Hmm.
It's not quite timeless in the sense that I would say like Batman animated series is, where it's
Yeah.
like you can't tell where it is, but I feel like it's almost bland enough where it's like, okay, this is all recognizable
Yeah.
as this is a TV, this is a phone, this is a stuff like that, but
Yes.
it's also recognizable enough for people who lived in that era to be like, oh, that's a sidekick, that's a razor phone.
Yeah. And
So,
everything looks like it is in the same style as everything else
mhm.
in the movie. Like it doesn't like Norman looks at his phone and he's got a text from Neil and his phone screen, it doesn't look like they tried to imitate a real phone interface of the time. It's got the same kind of like, bright, you know, like kind of lurid like fuchsia and lime colors the rest of the movie has. His phone is in the same horror font as like the
Yep.
logo. It's not like they put it in Helvetica or something. Like they make everything blend in really easy.
Yeah. They also didn't now that you mentioned that his phone had the same font, um, there's a scene in the film after he's met the zombies for the first time and he goes back into his room and everything is reminding him of these zombies because everything he
Yeah.
has is like horror themed. It's zombie themed. He has zombie
Yeah.
slippers. He has a zombie lamp. He has zombie posters all on his wall.
Mhm.
And he has this look as he like turns and it's like, oh, zombie there, oh, zombie there, and
Mhm.
he has this look that's almost disgust of just like, I why do I have this stuff, like, why, what is wrong with me? um and so I'm wondering if you caught that at all, or if you thought something
Yeah.
else with
Yeah,
that
I think
film.
that's he goes up there during one of his low points, especially after like his dad's been chastising him again. I think he looks around at all his horror stuff and he's like, am I making it worse by being this into it?
Yeah.
Is this really helping me? Like, am I just so into this death stuff that it is making me like more and more distant and disconnected from other people?
Yeah, it's that's also something that I'm wondering if they had done a sequel to this film, if something like that would be explored, of just
Hmm.
like, maybe I can kind of move on from this stuff. Like, now everyone knows I have this power. They don't necessarily think I'm weird for it. I'm maybe starting to fit in some more. Um,
Hmm.
I still like this stuff. It's not like, screw this stuff, screw the Power Rangers action figures that I have right behind me here. Um, it is more of yeah, just this like, do I really need to be this into things? Can I broaden my horizon some? Can I find something else that I like? Who knows, right? Um,
Hmm.
I think that would be a good thing to explore potentially.
Yeah.
Let's see, if do you have any other stuff to say about this film that
I
you
don't
wanted to
know.
talk about?
I think it's just very solid. Like it's a movie since the first time I saw it, I really appreciated it. And like I own a copy of
Yeah,
it. It will stay on my shelf for years to come, however long a Blu-ray is, a usable piece of
standard. Yeah.
technology. I'll have it. Yeah, and it's a movie I hadn't seen in several years because it's a movie I always want to show to other people.
Hmm.
So I never put on when I'm hanging out by myself watching a movie, and it's never wound up being like a priority where I tell somebody about it and they're like, "Yeah, put that in right now. Let's do it." So I hadn't seen it in a while. I'm like, "Good. I'm glad I do like this as much as I remember."
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think it's
think,
very solid, and I wished it would come up in the discussion more often of just solid family-friendly animated movies for Halloween or for any time.
yeah. I was about to say, I feel like it's usually Christmas time that families start getting together to watch holiday themed movies
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And I think there's been a tradition built up around that. But I think younger generations really love Halloween so much more
Yes.
that I'm wondering, it within the next like 10, 15
Mhm.
years or beyond that, if that tradition will start to expand and change, and we will get more like family friendly Halloween films, or we also watch Bella Lugosi film because it's a classic, or something like that. I think Halloween
Yeah, I'm
would do well to have more like family friendly Halloween films and make
Yeah,
that
it's
a
something my
tradition.
family definitely grew up with. Like, oh, when my nephew would come, when I was still living with my parents and my nephew would come and, he'd spend the weekend with grandma and grandpa and, his aunt and his uncle, we would watch Monster Squad and Addams Family and Ghostbusters. Like, that was
Nice.
always his favorite kind of stuff.
Good.
So yeah, I think it's more fun to watch like a slightly spooky movie in a big group together as a
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
sure if you go
I
on
hope that catches
Instagram, you
on.
will find way more pictures of people like curled up with Coco watching Hocus Pocus, then you will find them curled up with Coco watching Home Alone.
Yeah. They should make. No, they
What else would you
shouldn't make
recommend if
a
somebody
monster.
enjoyed?
Um, let's see. If people enjoyed this, what else would I recommend? I would definitely put Coraline up there since it's made by the same
Yeah.
studio. That's also a fairly spooky fifth film.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily Halloween related, but still, I think that would fit in there quite a bit. Uh, I'm trying to think of other like good animated films. I kind of already mentioned Frankenweenie, but I haven't seen that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I can really recommend it, but I always think about these two films at the same time, so who knows?
Yeah, I
Um,
think they did come out fairly close to each other. I don't know. I think Frankenweenie was also early 2010s.
yeah. And I know you mentioned it too at the start of the film, but Nightmare Before Christmas is
Yes,
also up there too.
which
That's a
stars
favorite of
another
mine.
fellow Missouri legend. Uh, yeah, the voice of the Oogie Boogie Man, Ken Page, is a local St. Louis actor who
Oogie
I've gotten to see
Boogie.
on stage a bunch of times. He's a
Nice.
delight.
I'm sure
I
he
would
would be.
recommend some stuff we've covered I would recommend some stuff we've covered previously on the show. Like this, I think if you like this, you'd really dig Gravity Falls or
True.
Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated. I think
Good call.
Mystery Incorporated is a good visual match for this. Everything's like kind of angular and oddly colored. I think it's got a similar like sense of humor to it. Both of those are also like great townspeople shows. If you just want to go live in like a very highly characterized town full of like wacky side characters, those are both excellent shows. And this is a bit different, but the similarly like kind of a fun, fantastic adventure in a small New England town reminded me of some of the scenes in Rise of the Guardians.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Interesting.
in terms of that town design.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
looked similar. So I kept thinking about that movie.
So I want to shout out Scooby Doo Mystery
Yes.
Incorporated. We covered that back on episode 25. We covered Gravity Falls season 1 back on episode 59. And
Hmm.
then you mentioned Rise of the Guardians. Where is that? GU. Why am I not seeing that?
We did that. That was one of our Christmas movies.
It's not showing up when I search for it. Oh, no, don't add all 79 episodes. Where is it?
Well, I don't know what number it is, but it
There it
is a
is.
December one from just last year.
It's number 37. If you want to go back,
Oh.
Scooby Doo was 25, I believe I had said. Rise of the Guardians is 37, and Gravity Falls was 59. There you
Hmm.
go. Go check out that stuff. Melissa, it is my
Yes.
turn to do some pitching. Am I the last one? Or is there another week after me for Halloween
There's another
stuff?
week after
Another
you.
week
Like
after
I
me. Okay,
think
cool. So there's gonna be 5 total, I guess. Yeah. There's 1, 2, 3, 4,
yeah.
5 Wednesdays in October. There you go.
Mhm.
Good stuff. Um, okay. I have 2 movies and a comic book. The
Mm.
comic book is entitled Harrow County. I want to read volumes 1 and 2. This is written by Colin Bunn and with art by Tyler Crook. And it says,
Mm.
Emmy always knew that the woods surrounding her home crawled with ghosts and monsters. But on the eve of her 18th birthday, she learns that she is connected to those creatures and to the land itself in a way she never imagined. So it looks spooky. It looks
Mm,
like the typical like New England style horror,
nice.
uh, kind of like what we saw in this witches and the Puritans
Hmm.
and that type of stuff. Um, I would be interested in reading that because I have heard good things about that series, and I don't think I've read much from Colin Bunn. So I would like to dive into some of his work as well.
Yeah.
Pitch number 2 is a movie that is available on Hulu. Hulu has a series that they have been doing for this past year, this anthology series of horror films
Yeah.
called Into the Dark. And it's just once a month they release a new film, and they're all these horror themed films. The one that I want to pitch is School Spirit, and it
Hmm.
says a group of social outcasts stuck in weekend detention are confronted by the school's legendary hauntings. And so this looks like the Breakfast
Hmm.
Club as if it was a horror film. So I thought
Okay.
that might be neat to go watch. That's available on Hulu. And again, they have let's see, there's more than 12 of them out, it looks like. Um, they have a whole bunch of these.
Hmm.
So all types of horror stuff you guys can go watch there. So that's pitch number 2. Pitch number 3 is maybe a little bit more of a more recent thing. It is a Netflix film entitled In the Tall Grass. Came out this year in 2019.
Oh.
It is a supernatural horror drama, and it is based on a book by Stephen King and his son Joe Hill, who also writes a bunch of comics. And I don't see much of a description without getting into spoiler stuff, but it looks like this couple ends up going into this patch of tall grass. It looks like this big like field of like
Yeah.
corn height stuff, right? Where you can't see, what's around you if you walk in. And it seems like this field is somewhat alive. They can't find their way out. They get separated. They get lost. They
Ooh.
meet new characters within this field. They're also lost. Strange things start happening. They start seeing things. It sounds real spooky. So that would be pitch number 3. Pitch number 1 was Harrow County, Volumes 1 and 2, which is available on Comixology Unlimited. Pitch number 2 is School Spirit from Hulu's horror anthology film series Into the Dark. Pitch number 3 is In the Tall Grass, a Netflix film based on a short novel by Stephen King and his son, Joe Hill.
So I did a Google image search for Harrow County just to get a picture of what, kind of comic we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I love this art. I want to read this one. This
Okay.
looks so eerie and grotesque and exactly what I want.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Let's do this.
Harrow County Volumes 1 and 2. I think so we're only gonna read the first 2 volumes. I think there's like 8 or 9 volumes out in total right now. I think on Comixology Unlimited there's like 3 or 4 of them that are available. But for next week's episode, we will only read the first 2. I think that'll be good. Yeah, the art in this book looks fantastic. It looks exactly
Yes.
like what you would want from the like New England style witch hunt, spooky things in the woods.
Yeah,
What's going on here?
it's got this old look to it. It looks like that vintage, like early 1900s extra creepy
Yeah.
Halloween nonsense.
Yeah. It looks good. I'm excited. Good. Woohoo.
Mm-hmm.
Harrow County Volumes 1 and 2. We do want to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you to Sam and to Christine for helping us out. We love you guys a lot. We love all
Thank
of our
you.
Patreon supporters. But thank you guys for helping us out. And I guess that being said, Melissa, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. We are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe, and if you guys have some time, follow us on Twitch. We could absolutely use your guys' help getting some more followers on Twitch. Go follow us, twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. Could absolutely use your help, even if you guys don't normally catch our live streams of the Captain's Log, which we do on Twitch, and hopefully down the road we'll have some more live streams. Who knows? That being said, let's get out of here. This has been episode 79. We will see you next week for episode 80. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out that video. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you guys thought of Paranorman, and what else you might recommend if someone liked that film. We liked it a lot. Go watch it with your family this Halloween, or with your roommates or something. Go follow our channel right up here. Go subscribe. Go watch one of our other videos right down there. We got all sorts of other podcasts for you, as well as the other horror themed picks that we have been doing this month on the review show. With that, we will see you next time.